Welcome to the Ultimate Rune Slayer class tier list. If you're here, chances are you've just started playing Rune Slayer, or maybe you're looking to switch things up and pick a new class. But here's the thing, not all classes are created equal. Some will make you feel like an unstoppable hero, effortlessly cutting through enemies, while others, well, let's just say you might end up regretting your choices real quick. But before we dive into the rankings, let's take a moment to talk about what classes actually are in Rune Slayer and why picking the right one matters. In most fantasy RPGs, classes define how your character plays. Some specialize in brute strength, using heavy weapons and armor to dominate enemies up close. Others rely on speed and agility, dodging attacks and striking at the perfect moment. Then we have the range specialists, who keep their distance and deal damage from afar, making sure they never take a hit in the first place. And of course, we can't forget the support classes, who focus on keeping their team alive while still contributing to the fight. Now, in Rune Slayer, the classes follow a similar structure, but there's a twist. Some classes have unique mechanics that completely change how they play. For example, a warrior might seem like your typical tanky frontliner, but due to the way blocking works in this game, things aren't always as simple as just standing there and taking hits. Likewise, a class like the Archer might sound straightforward, but when you factor in their Beast to Mare specialization, suddenly you've got an entirely different experience. So today, we're ranking every class in Rune Slayer, from the absolute worst to the most broken, overpowered must-pick classes in the game. We'll be covering strengths, weaknesses, ideal playstyles, and whether or not a class is worth your time. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which class is right for you. Let's jump in. Before we dive into the higher tiers, let's take a look at the B tier. These classes aren't necessarily terrible, but they're certainly not the best pick if you're looking to dominate. This are the class that might require extra skill or a specific playstyle to really shine. But for most players, it's just not as reliable in comparison to what's higher on the list. Starting at the very bottom, we have the Striker. If you love fast-paced melee combat and think throwing hands is the best way to win a fight, this might sound like a fun pick. Unfortunately, in Rune Slayer, Striker is a complete disaster. While the class is quick and has a flashy playstyle, it has almost zero defense, meaning a few hits can send you straight back to the respawn screen. On top of that, the damage output isn't great either, making Striker one of the weakest options in the entire game. Strikers rely solely on their speed to deliver powerful blows, but with no armor or weapons to back them up, they often fall victim to stronger opponents before they can even land a hit. Unless you enjoy unnecessary challenges or you're waiting for a future buff, this is a class you might want to skip. Many players who try Striker quickly realize that the class lacks survivability, especially in boss fights or high-level dungeons. Imagine going up against a heavily armored enemy while you're stuck relying on your bare fists. Sure, you might get a few flashy combos in, but once the enemy lands a solid hit, it's game over. If Strikers had a bit more evasion or defensive buffs, they might stand a chance. But in the current meta, they are simply outclassed. Now we're moving up to the A tier. These classes are solid choices for many players, but they still have some weaknesses that prevent them from reaching the highest level. They can hold their own in combat, but whether it's a lack of mobility, defense, or team synergy, they might require a bit more finesse to truly master. Let's start with the Warrior. The Warrior is a classic, and for a good reason. If you want to be on the front lines, swinging massive weapons and soaking up damage, this is your class. Warriors hit hard, can equip the heaviest armor, and are usually the ones protecting the party from enemy attacks. However, there's a downside. While warriors are built to take damage, they also have to get up close and personal with enemies, which can be risky. Blocking and parrying can be unreliable at times, making some fights feel frustrating rather than fun. Unlike ranged classes, warriors must always be in the thick of battle, which means they take damage frequently. A well-built warrior with solid gear can be a beast in combat, but for new players, the class can feel clunky and slow. Moving on, let's talk about the Thief. Thieves are one of the most agile classes in the game, making them perfect for players who enjoy swift, precise attacks. Thieves can deal massive damage in a short amount of time, but they have to rely on perfect timing and dodging to stay alive. If you love an agile playstyle and enjoy striking from the shadows, this class is for you. However, the downside is clear. If you mess up your dodges or get caught in a bad position, you'll go down almost instantly. Thieves have some of the best burst damage in the game, but their low HP and lack of defensive skills mean they require a highly skilled player to reach their full potential. Then we have the Magician. The Magician is the master of ranged magic attacks, unleashing devastating spells that can deal insane amounts of damage. However, as with all glass cannons, the Magician's weaknesses become evident when enemies get too close. The class is highly effective at range, but fragile at close quarters. Magicians work best when paired with a warrior or another frontline fighter to keep the enemies at bay. If you like controlling the battlefield and raining destruction from a distance, the Magician is an excellent choice. But be aware that without a strong team, you're vulnerable. Alright, now we're talking about the big guns. These are the classes that take the cake in terms of sheer power, versatility, and dominance in the game. If you want to feel like you're absolutely unstoppable, these are the picks that will have you ruling the battlefield. First up, we have the Archer. The Archer is arguably the most broken class in the game right now, with ranged attacks that can hit hard from a distance and abilities that rain down arrows on enemies. Even in enclosed areas like caves, Archers are a force to be reckoned with. What makes this class especially overpowered is the Beast Tamer specialization. If you choose this build, you can easily become nearly unkillable. Archers have the luxury of dealing damage from afar, so they don't have to worry about getting into close combat where they're vulnerable. The only real weakness is that if an enemy gets too close, you're in trouble. But more often than not, they won't even get the chance. If you're looking for a powerful, easy-to-play class, the Archer is a great choice. Finally, we have the Priest. The Priest is the undisputed king of Rune Slayer. This class combines the ability to deal damage both melee and ranged, but its true strength lies in its healing abilities. Priests can heal themselves, their teammates, and even their pets, making them nearly impossible to take down when properly built. Whether you're playing solo or with a team, the Priest's ability to heal and still deal decent damage makes it an absolute game changer. On top of that, Priests can serve as hybrid DPS, making them incredibly versatile. No matter what role you want to play, healer, support, or even main damage dealer, the Priest can do it all. If you want to be the backbone of your team, look no further than the Priest. And that wraps up our Rune Slayer class tier list. Now let's be real, every class has its strengths and weaknesses, and depending on your personal playstyle, you might find a so-called bad class to actually be really fun. At the end of the day, the best class is the one you enjoy playing the most. But if you're looking for raw power, survivability, and effectiveness in both solo and team play, the S-tier classes are definitely where you want to be. But hey, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with this ranking? Do you think I was too harsh on some of the lower tier classes? Maybe you found a secret strategy that makes the striker actually viable? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this tier list and want to see more Rune Slayer guides, tips, and rankings, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. I've got more in-depth class guides coming soon, so if you want to master your favorite class, stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.